of Akal University, it's my immense pleasure to welcome you all, esteemed Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Gurmail Singh, notable Dean Academic Affairs, Major General Dr. G.S. Lama, Director IQAC, Professor Sujit Singh, distinguished speaker, Professor Haseen Taj, remarkable faculty members and participants, and as well as our collaborator, Eternal University. This is Zeba Fatma, welcomes you all in the one-day workshop on learning outcome-based curriculum framework. Before commencing program, I would like to give a brief introduction about both the universities which work under the Kalgidar Trust Society. The Kalgidar Trust is a humanitarian charity organization that primarily builds educational institutions for the deprived kids in rural areas of North India, thereby bringing in rural transformation in North India. Education is a huge necessity with these youth who otherwise are getting wasted in drug alcohol abuse. The Kalgidar Trust is also engaged in several other welfare projects for women empowerment and vocational training to children in the rural areas. Both the universities have the vision of the university is not merely to impart literacy, but also to provide high quality spiritual value-based education leading to holistic development of complete human beings who will propagate the message of universal brotherhood and philosophy of interfaith wisdom in Sri Guru Nanak Sahib Ji. Continuing to the beginning of today's workshop, learning outcome-based curriculum lies in enhancing the quality of higher education in India.
Hello.
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 Yeah. Hello is audible to me. What is she speaking was not audible.
Okay, ma'am. I will start again.
Yeah, sure. No problem.
Yeah.
The first part, little I could hear, but later it wasn't possible for me. Okay. Thank you.
A very warm and scintillating good afternoon to one and all. On the behalf of entire fraternity of Akal University, it's my immense pleasure to welcome Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Gurmail Singh, notable Dean Academic Affairs, Dr. G.S. Lamba, Director IQAC, Professor Sujit Singh, distinguished speaker, Professor Haseen Taj, and remarkable faculty members and participants, and our collaborator, Eternal University. This is Zeba Fatima, welcomes you all in the one-day workshop on learning outcome-based curriculum framework. Before commencing our program, I would like to give brief introduction about both the university who work under the Kalgidar Trust Society. It is an humanitarian charity organization that primarily builds educational institutions for the deprived kids in rural areas of North India, thereby bringing in rural transformation in North India. Education is a big necessity with these youth who otherwise are getting wasted in drugs, alcohol abuse, and it is also engaged in several other welfare projects for women empowerment and vocational training to children in the rural areas. The mission and vision of both the university is not merely to impart literacy, but also to provide high quality spiritual value-based education leading to holistic development of complete human being who will propagate the message of universal brotherhood and philosophy of interfaith wisdom and Shri Guru Granth Sahib Ji. Coming to the detailing of the today's workshop, LOC, Learning Outcome-Based Curriculum Framework, lies in enhancing the quality of higher education in India and encouraging the student to gain the best skill and knowledge during their journey of education. This works towards a more holistic experience for the students while focusing not just on the knowledge delivering in a higher education, but also on the application of the knowledge through real life experiences. So here I would like to welcome Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Gurmail Singh, sir, to share a few words. He has been appointed as the first Vice Chancellor of Akal University, Talwandi Sabu, and he also holds a 27 years teaching research experience with the organization like Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi, Punjab University, Chandigarh, Punjab Agricultural University, Ludhiana, Institute for Development and Communication, Chandigarh, and SGTB Khalsa College, Delhi University. We, as a member of Akal University, have assurance that our university will reach highest zenith of success under his distinguished guidance. Please, sir.
So thank you, Jeba. Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, sir, you are audible, sir.
So, distinguished Honorable Professor Hasim Taji from University of Bangalore, the speaker of the day, Professor A.S. Aluwalia, Vice Chancellor of Eternal University, who has joined us and collaborated for this one-day workshop. Major General G.S. Lamba, Dean Academic Affairs, Professor Sujit Singh, Director IQAC, distinguished colleagues and participants, it's my honor to welcome Professor Taj to this workshop, and I am really honored and feel privileged that you agreed to join us to guide the faculty of Eternal University and Eternal University 2 University together on a very, very important contemporary topic for all higher education institution, which is learning outcome based course curriculum, which is the first criteria, which is the core of first criteria in evaluation by the NAC of all higher education institutions. So for this, I am grateful to Professor Sukhjit Singh, Director IQAC, and the Department of Education, Dr. Brinder Kaur, Head, and Jeba Fatima, who collaborated with her in organizing this workshop for faculty of 2 universities. Well, colleagues, the UGC has taken an initiative, a step to improve the quality of education, to upward upgradation of the quality of education by adopting this outcome-based course curriculum in the Indian education institution, higher education institutions. So does it mean that earlier education system was not up to mark, or it was not, assuring the quality education? It was, but generally it's said, I'm not a man of education, that it is generally alleged also that the earlier education system that was teacher-centric, that it was faculty-centric. Everything was decided by the faculty. They were themselves framing the course curriculum. They were framing the type of how to evaluate the student. It was giving from teaching to the student. It was generally alleged to be one-way flow from teacher towards the student, without bothering about what is happening to the main stakeholder, the student, how their future is shaped by the type of education we are providing to this. So to make it a stakeholder centric, I use a broader term, a stakeholder centric education system. That means which catering to the requirement of all the stakeholders, which include the management, which include the faculty, which include the student, which include the society also, which include catering to the need of the country for development of human resources, for its progress, for its development, and to make it a very decent society where everybody feel proud of to be a part of it. So that type of course curriculum, this learning-based outcome system is generally said to be taking the education system towards that side. So here when we started in Cal University in 2015, then we were lucky to adopt the choice-based credit system, which was recommended by UGC recently at that time. And choice-based credit system actually formed the core of this thing, core of learning outcome-based education system. So we adopted it, but without any conscious effort, frankly speaking. We were not conscious that we are adopting a learning-based outcome system, whereby we have to be very, very specific about defining in the beginning what would be the course learning outcome, program learning outcome, or program specific learning outcome. We adopted it because it was recommended by the UGC. And there was a parallel emphasis of the trust, Kalgita Trust mission and vision, which was that we are not just to create the literates from our education institutions, schools, and universities. Students should not only be literate, they have to be educated. That simply means teaching them. They have to learn at the same time. They have to learn the values also. which is again one of the important emphasis of the new national education policy as well as the course learning outcome. Besides the knowledge, skill, understanding, employability, the evaluation process, imparting values to the students so that they should not become a mere literate, they become a good human being on which every country, every society, every family feel proud of. So that type of expectation is from, in my opinion, I'm not expert of education, but whatever my little bit understanding of the subject is, that are the main objective of this new approach of course curriculum development, learning outcome based course curriculum, which not only plan the course, but it map the course also on these different count, how it pass on to the skill development, how it pass on to the knowledge development, and which part of it is imparting the values, which impart the skills, training, etc., etc. So these were the main concern. These are the main concerns of this new approach, which I think, and since most of the faculty in these two universities, is she with us? Most of both these universities, most of the faculty, they are from a very varied and different background. People are here from the ISERs, from IITs, from the PDF, from foreign universities, from the traditional universities. Every type of university is represented here from the faculty. So everybody came from the different type of background. They have been exposed or learned different type of course curriculum like that. So our effort here was that since we have to file our case with the NAC, then why not we became first conscious that what we are offering to the student and how we are passing on the criteria 1 specifically. And within criteria 1, the first point 1.111 was that curriculum developed and implemented have relevant to the local, national, regional, global development need reflected in program outcome, program specific outcome, and course outcome. So when we started, looking at these things, then we understood most of these things because many things are elaborated in the NAC documents, in the NAC manual itself. But we thought that why not to learn everything regarding the course or outcome or learning outcome based course curriculum from a very distinguished scholars, a subject expert, who have not only herself designed, himself designed these type of courses, evaluated these type of courses, but he or she must be involved in evaluation of the higher education institution, part of the policy making. When we were looking, I asked Dr. Brinder, head of the department, that can we have some of the subject experts who pass on all these multiple requirements, a policy maker also, a professor also, a evaluator also, participating in the NAC evaluation also, then we could not find a better person than Professor Taj for this work. And I am really humbled that she accepted our request and with us to guide us, to educate us on this very, very important topic, which cover all of us, not to all of us, but to our subjects, all these subjects, to the management, to the students, to their parents, to the society in the broader sense. So no, I don't want to stand between you and Professor Taj and request her to kindly educate us on this topic. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I would like to introduce our esteemed and distinguished Professor Dr. Haseem Taj. Furthermore, she working as professor, former chairperson, and dean faculty of education. She has 38 years of teaching and research experience at postgraduate level. She was the first rank holder and a University of Gold medalist in her MEd course. She is a recipient of State Award 1984, National Award 1996, and Professional Involvement Award 1998, Best Teacher Award 1998, Behavioral Scientist Award, Women Empowerment Year 2021 Award, Educational Development and Peace Award, National Level Special Award, Prabha Bhargava Saman, Baba Sahib Dr. Ambedkar National Fellowship Award, Best Senior Educationist Award, Best Cognitive Psychologist Award, Award of Eminence for her excellence in research and she has been chosen as member of Professional Women's Advisory Board for her distinguished standing by ABI USA. She has done quite a few book reviews and has published 15 books in addition to publishing 250 research and thematic articles in Journal of National and International Standards and Repute. She has guided more than 250 MD and 25 MPhil besides guiding 20 PhD students. And she has developed a standard 50 research tools and has published 17 out of them. And she has completed 6 major research projects under UGC, ICSR, MHRD, and state government. Besides these, she has served as chairperson and member of BOE and BOS of many universities in the country, besides serving in many committees as chairperson and member on state and central government assignments. She is a member of NAC Tier Team Inspecting Authority of MAEF, Ministry of Minority Government of India, UGC, expert member for Monitoring Institution of Excellence, member of Curriculum Committee, NCT, member of Task Force on Teacher Education, Knowledge Commission, Government of Karnataka, and chairperson for Committee for preparing report on ITAP, chairperson Education Expert Committee, NPE 2020. She has chaired several sessions in national international level seminar conference, and she is a trained HRD facilitator at Bangalore University, Bangalore. Thank you so much, ma'am. Once again, over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. A very, very pleasant and excellent good afternoon to one and all. Very, very esteemed and honorable Vice Chancellors of both the universities, Akal University as well as the Eternal University. Very distinguished deans as well as directors of both the universities, as well as learned faculty members and the research scholars, students, and other invitees. At the outset, let me congratulate the Akal University and the Eternal University for a very, very timely and a very aptly chosen workshop that is on learning outcome-based curriculum framework. I should also like to express my pleasure to be a part of such a university who is doing such an excellent work. I was very happy to hear about even the learned staff members from the varied fields. And talking about the esteemed Vice Chancellor Akal University was rightly speaking about the learning outcome-based curriculum framework, and he very rightly pointed out whether the type of curriculum earlier we had, was it all these years we were having was not useful, or was it not really like whether we were failures. And definitely, like, I don't say that, but I would only like to say that right now, like with the 21st century, with the availability of the gadgets available to the students with the science and technology, like whatever was there maybe some 3 or 4 decades back, the only source of knowledge were only either the teachers or maybe the libraries or the books. But now with the availability of the technology, like materials are available to the student just with the click of the button. I would only like to say that, like as he very rightly pointed out, that we are looking for a paradigm shift from the teacher-centered to the learner-centered paradigm. We are looking out for the focus from the teaching to learning. So that is what we are talking about in a learning outcome-based curriculum framework. The focus would be more on learning rather than on teaching. So from that point of view, so probably we have thought of, like in NEP 2020, so apart from the inputs that the teachers give, how far, like maybe with the other support and maybe with the other facilitating environments, how can learning be enhanced? So from that point of view, we are having this learning outcome-based curriculum framework. As I said that I would be presenting this material in 2 parts. And maybe in the first part, that is in the first session, I would be speaking only about the conceptual part of this learning outcome-based curriculum framework. That may not be what I say, that not be available to the other experts here. They can also, but still we will have a conceptual framework. The second part, what I said, since I am also, like Karnataka is the first state to implement NEP 2020. Already our UG students in Karnataka, they have completed 2 semesters. And right now we are entering into the 3rd semester. So we had almost on all the subjects. So several, almost nearly some 52 committees were formulated. And I was the chairperson for the committee on education. So education subject in Karnataka, not only as a teacher education subject, but as an optional, we do have it in some of the universities like BA in education, as well as MA in education. So catering to that, we had already prepared the structure as well as the curriculum for first and second semester. And now we have almost completed the curriculum for third and fourth semester. We had several virtual meetings. We are having a two-day workshop on 16th and 17th for our committee members to finalize that syllabus. So in the second part, what I just want to share with you, one of the templates that the Higher Education Council, maybe with all the experts which is been prepared. So that template I would like to share with you. So with that template, probably any subject can fit into that. Maybe it's a blank template. And apart from that, I would like to share one of the just subjects, which is still we are just preparing it for the third semester. Yesterday, we were just doing it. And maybe that the model curriculum that we have made as per that template, but still it is not completely final. It is a draft curriculum in one of the papers on life skill education that I would like to, that I couldn't, the template I have put it in the form of a PPT. Whereas that model subject curriculum that is on life skill education, and also the curriculum framework structure that is for the honors, almost all the subjects like BA, BSc, languages, management, for everything, including the 5-year integrated curriculum structure, whatever the Karnataka Higher Education Council is prepared. That was not possible for me to put it into the form of a PPT, but still I would like to share with all of you, so that what that would give you an idea, like maybe as per that NEP 2020, how can we fit in like the learning outcome based, as rightly pointed out by the Honorable Vice Chancellor, that one of the very, very main criteria of the NAC is that we would look out for maybe the learning outcome based curriculum. So from that point of view, I feel, I hope that that would be hopefully that will be useful. Maybe I don't mind sharing it through WhatsApp, that material, if not through this one. That is for the reference because that is developed by Karnataka Higher Education Council. Okay. And that can be used as a, though it is a copyright, that just maybe the other states may look out for a model. So that can work as probably a model. So I would like to start with the first part of the presentation. And I would also like to thank the university for giving me this opportunity to be with all of you and to share this, like whatever the experience that we are having in the learning outcome based curriculum framework. Would you just allow me to share my PPT?
You are already allowed for
yes, yes. Thank you so much. Is it visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, it
Okay,
is visible.
okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. As I said, the first part, I would be just only presenting the conceptual framework that is on learning outcome based curriculum framework for undergraduate education. Like we have started with already, as I said, like undergraduate education, and already 2 semesters are over. Now we are going for the third semester shortly. And as we all know, that already it is being spoken, as education is considered to be a very, very important, not only in India, but all over the globe, definitely, because it plays a very significant role in building any nation for that matter. If at all you are thinking of building an individual's personality, we say that education is very, very important. In the same manner, if at all if you want to build a nation, definitely education is important. That education which trains, or education, maybe science, technology, maybe social sciences, languages, humanities, pure sciences, everything, social sciences. So everything is very, very essential for building a nation. So there are definitely, like, especially when we are talking about our country, with lot of diversity, with lot of like geographical inaccessible geographical areas, we are having a large number of educational institutions, and at the same time, they are also engaged in imparting education in the country. So, but well, whatever it is, like, however, our present education system is churning out youth who have to compete locally as well as regionally, nationally, as well as globally. So the 21st century has opened up many new challenges in the field of higher education. So the present alarming situation necessitates the transformation and a redesigning of the system, not only by introducing innovations, but developing a learner-centric approach. So as we all know, like maybe our traditional approach, like definitely we have kept the teacher on the pedestal, and I don't say that nothing can definitely substitute a teacher, but still that the teachers have need to become the facilitators in the 21st century, with the availability of maybe the tremendous amount of knowledge available to the students and teachers for all the people, which is just available from multiple sources and from multiple directions. So the teacher has to don the role of a facilitator and just make like our system of education to be more learner centric. So that is what that we are thinking in the 21st century. But what is happening in our education system? So not only in higher education, as we know that right from the school education system, but majority of our even higher education institutions also, they have been following the system which obstructs the flexibility for the student to study the subjects or courses of their choice and their mobility to different institutions. Because as we all know, like before the introduction of the semester system or credit system, there was no flexibility for the students or for choosing the courses and the subjects. Like maybe with the introduction of the credit-based courses, the student is given the option, but still that option is not 60-40. Like everywhere we may just see in higher education institutions, the student is given the option of choosing either one or two optional courses, or maybe such type of open elective courses, maybe from the other courses. So not many credits are being assigned to that in the, even with this credit-based system of education. But still there is a need to allow much more flexibility into our education system, so that students, depending upon their interest, can choose interdisciplinary, intradisciplinary, and skill-based courses. And it should be holistic to train the students into a perfect human being and a useful member of the society. And now with this learning outcome-based curriculum framework, not only that it has to be student-centered or maybe the learner-centered, we are talking about maybe the students to have the flexibility of choosing the number of courses from different disciplines without any barrier of maybe the science or arts, or maybe the probably even maybe from the courses like soft courses, what we used to say, the courses, maybe whether it is music or maybe it is performing arts or whatever it is. And that is what it is spoken in NEP 2020. So this is what we are expecting to train the student, so that student to become in holistic, and we want a student to be a perfect human being, and he should become a useful member of the society. So of course, definitely the aim of higher education should be to develop good, well-rounded and PHU individuals. So of course, the creativity need to be nurtured right from the school education. So that is what we are speaking about the in the NEP 2020. We want to see that there has to be a flexibility in the pedagogy, flexibility in the curriculum, flexibility in the teaching learning, and there has to be a varied ways of evaluating and assessment. So formative assessment as well as the summative assessments. We want a 300-degree assessment of the students, not just merely like what usually we used to do in case of a traditional system of education, where only the cognitive achievements are usually assessed. But now not only the cognitive, but also the other creative aspects, maybe whether it is the other soft core skills that the students are having, apart from the affective, psychomotor, social skills, social-psychological skills, almost all types of like whatever that we are trying to develop through education, they all need to be assessed. So the aim of higher education should be also to develop these well-rounded and creative individuals. And it is also to enable individual to study one or more specialized areas of interest at a deeper level. So apart from learning any one or two more specialized areas, right, which can, that of course he can choose it for a 4-year program or maybe for a 5-year program, or which he can continue even at a master's level in a higher education. Apart from that, the student should be given the flexibility to choose from the various interdisciplinary. There has to be an interdisciplinary approach. The student should be allowed to choose from multi-disciplines. That is what the NEP 2020 is also speaking about. While at the same time building the character, ethical and constitutional values, as well as intellectual curiosity, spirit of service, and capabilities across disciplines, including sciences, social sciences, arts, humanities, as well as professional, technical, and vocational crafts. So there are also like almost 21, the 21st century skills which are required for our students, for our youths to compete not only nationally, but internationally, or what we call it as globally. And apart from that, we want to build the character, or maybe the constitutional values, or maybe the Indian ethos, or whatever the heritage is there. So at the same time, the professional skills, the technical skills, as well as the vocational crafts that the student should be able to learn, even in case of higher education. But at a society level, the higher education must enable the development of an enlightened, socially conscious, knowledgeable, and skilled nation that can uplift its people and construct and implement solutions to its own problems. That is what the vision of our 2020 NEP. So we want to become an enlightened society where it will have an equitable access to all the people, and we want to become a super knowledge power. And that is the vision that we are having for 2020 NEP. And it also to bridge the increasing gap between an undergraduate degree as well as the employability. As we see many a times when it comes to the technical skills, or maybe the professional skills, or maybe the vocational skills, many a times, like many of our undergraduates or maybe graduates, including the postgraduates, and they are not employable because the employees, they say, or employers, they just say that they don't possess, they are not adequately equipped with the required type of skills which are needed to be employed. So there is a gap that this gap need to be filled up, that this whatever the increasing gap is there, and before that gap widens, we need to fill up this gap and see that our graduates becomes employable with professional, technical, and vocational skills, apart from maybe the whatever the other values and maybe the social skills we want them to get equipped. When we talk about the NEP 2020, I'm just touching upon whatever the transformational changes that are being suggested in higher education. And when it comes to the higher education, we say that a well-educated and upskilled population is an asset for every nation. So definitely that our population, like whatever the population that we are having, that may be 130 million or little more, and these population, like whatever, instead of making them a burden, we can convert them into an asset. So for every nation, that a well-educated and a upskilled population can become an asset. So India can translate its huge population into its biggest asset, because as we all know that we are having the youngest population in the whole world, and that youngest population's potentials need to be tapped, and that need to be translated into an asset. If the Indian youth are educated and skilled so as to meet the changes and needs of the global economy. So we should see that these whatever through the education that we are going to bring in our higher education, and these skilled and educated youths, they should be able to meet the changes as well as the needs of the global economy. And here it is the education which can play a very key role in achieving this objective of becoming a global leader of skilled workforce. Not only we want to become a super knowledge power, but also we can become a global leader of skilled workforce because we are having a huge population and especially a very, very young population. So higher education is considered one of the key drivers of the growth, performance, prosperity, as well as competitiveness. So hence, there is a need to bring reforms in the higher education system to ensure the relevance of knowledge, identify skill gaps, and launch special programs for skill development. So one of the focus areas of this initiative has to be curriculum development. When we are having all these objectives, when we are having so much of expectation from higher education, so if at all, if you want to bring all these reforms in higher education, so we need to start with the revamping of the curriculum itself. We has to start with the curriculum development itself as a first initiative. So definitely, the government of India has notified the NAP 2020 on July 29, 2020, based on Dr. Kasturi Rangan's committee's report. The objective is to bridge the gap between the current system of education and what is required in the 21st century. So the NAP has brought several reforms in Indian education, which includes broad-based multidisciplinary undergraduate education to produce employable graduates with integrated personality along with 21st century skills while developing specialized knowledge and disciplinary rigor. So it is not just merely developing or just providing access to higher education. We want to have a broad-based multidisciplinary undergraduate education, and we want to produce such graduates who are employable. At the same time, it is not that if you are giving only the professional skills, technical skills, and vocational skills, not that we are expecting to produce the robots. We want to produce a youth which are humane and youth which have almost all the social skills, which they are having integrity. They know the Indian heritage, they know the Indian values, the constitutional values, that's humanity. Apart from that, we are talking about the employability skills. So these 21st century skills should be developed, keeping the specialized knowledge, like whatever is the discipline is there. So it is also that we want to bring equality, efficiency, and academic excellence in the national higher education system. So until and unless the equity is to be provided to this huge population, we will not be able to bring almost all the youth population into the mainstream, because India is a country with diversity. We are having people who are marginalized, people who are maybe for various reasons, who are like socially, maybe economically, or for various reasons they are deprived of. So these marginalized, deprived groups need to be brought to the mainstream. So for that, the NEP 2020 has very well spoken about, in order to give access to almost all the people for this higher education, so there has to be equity. So equity is considered to be a very, very strong pillar for providing the access. So that is what it is being visualized even in NEP 2020. And apart from the efficiency and academic excellence in national higher education system. So the important ones include innovation and improvement in the course curricular, as well as the introduction of paradigm shift in learning and teaching pedagogy, as well as our evaluation and the whole education system. As right now, I was just speaking about the present evaluation is only focused on the cognitive performance or maybe the cognitive assessment. Now we need to go for a varied ways of evaluations need to be probably adopted for an all-round evaluation of the individual not only the cognitive, but also the affective and psychomotor domains also. So what is the quality mandate of the UGC? So when we are talking about the quality mandate, definitely globalization is redefining the role of any nation in terms of global markets, or whether they are the agreements or values as well as the traditions. And India is not an exception to that. So there is a need once again to analyze this in the context of higher education, even in our country, that is in India. So which is very, very steadily expanding with a large network of institutions. Like whatever was we thought that we maybe just maybe not even a decade back, we had only 18 to 19% of the people who are into the in that particular age group into higher education. Now we have moved almost to nearing 30-32%. That is what the records are speaking. So very steadily, there is a lot of contribution apart from the public higher education institution, even from the private the investors, or maybe there are also voluntary organizations, and all these people are definitely contributing a lot, not only in the school education, but also in the higher education. So that is how we are expanding a large network of higher education institutions, giving access to the people in all corners of the country. So as a response to this, educators need to rethink the ways that the teaching and learning are to happen in the era of a knowledge economy. So when we are having varied type of institutions and diversity maybe in the learners, and then it definitely also it requires a rethinking, like how should be the whatever should be the teaching and how should be the learning. And definitely we all know that not only in India, but all over the world, that the global, maybe globally, that the whole world has witnessed maybe during the pandemic, like how that the whole world shifted from the offline to the online, maybe the teaching. So that was a complete pedagogical shift, maybe for almost 1.5 years or 2 years. So we should rethink again the ways of teaching as well as learning, so that ought to happen in the era of knowledge economy. And apart from that, that when we are thinking about the teaching and learning, definitely our curriculum should also focus on critical thinking, problem solving, and when we are talking about critical thinking and problem solving, all these types of skills to be developed, apart from the values and apart from the right attitude. And we need to make very conscious efforts to develop the cognitive as well as the not cognitive problem solving skills also among the learners, because they shall become the part of whatever the cognitive and non-cognitive skills that we are talking about, and that should become the part of curriculum. Only when they become the part of curriculum, then only we can just develop these type of whether they are technical skills or vocational skills, or maybe it is content knowledge, or maybe the values and the attitudes that we are talking about. So when we are talking about that the use of Bloom's taxonomy in designing curriculum to move from lower order thinking skills to higher order thinking skills is a desired option. So of course, maybe people in education, they know this Bloom's taxonomy in designing the curriculum. So we need to keep it in mind, starting maybe from the lower order thinking skills to the higher order thinking skills. So now the programs, like whatever that we designs, they should empower our graduates. They should see that our graduates, they become expert problem solvers, using their disciplinary knowledge as well as collaborating in multidisciplinary teams. We want our 21st century graduates not only to acquire the disciplinary knowledge, but also to develop 21st century skills where they learn multidisciplinary skills. They should be able to learn to collaborate not only within the institutions, outside the institutions, maybe in the professional forums, nationally as well as globally or maybe internationally, to collaborate, to communicate, to network, and to share, and to equip themselves with all these skills is very, very essential. So definitely, as a part of this quality mandate of UGC, University Grants Commission has asked all the universities in the country to implement the multidisciplinary and holistic education across disciplines for a multidisciplinary world. So in all the universities as well as the affiliated colleges, because they are all higher education institutions, so that we can improve not only the level of academic excellence, but also improve the academic as well as research environment in the state. So we want to develop the problem solving ability, the creative abilities, and the scientific temper. And we want to develop a lot of other technical skills among the student, not only through the academic excellence, but also through the research environment, not only in the universities, but also at the higher education, maybe at a graduate level, at a undergraduate level. So the proposed curriculum framework would endeavors to empower the student and help them in their pursuit for achieving the overall excellence. If at all, the existing curriculums, like whatever the curriculums that we have, if it doesn't allow a student's flexibility, so whatever we are trying to visualize in NEP 2020, and that may not be, we may not be able to achieve it. If at all, if you want to achieve our vision of any NEP 2020, so that initiative has to be started with the curriculum, and the UGC has given this curriculum, that learning outcome based curriculum framework, and that would definitely endeavors to empower the students with the help of them in their pursuit for achieving this overall excellence. The proposed 4-year multidisciplinary undergraduate programs is a fundamental transformation of the current undergraduate education, which replaces the conventional undergraduate programs of universities in the state. Like and almost all the states, like whatever that we were having earlier, maybe usually that maybe whether it may be arts or science or whatever it is, the graduate program was only like 10 plus 2 plus 3 pattern we were following. So it is a 3-year degree program with an entry and a exit. So there is a single entry and exit point. But now definitely we all know it with the NAP 2020, there is a lot of flexibility either with regard to the entry as well as the exit. So instead of 3 years, now we are having the 4-year multidisciplinary undergraduate programs have been proposed. And they are also outcome-based education practices we need to use to design the curriculum. And it is also proposed to develop graduate attributes at appropriate level, which will act as a common denominator for curriculum across universities. So the universities have to decide about maybe at each level, what is the attributes or what are the characteristics or what the skills and what values and what attitudes and what knowledge that we want to equip the students with. So if these attributes are specified or they are spelled out at different levels or appropriate levels, then we can have some sort of a commonality across the curriculum and across the universities. And UGC, under its quality mandate, has also resolved to revise the curriculum based on learning outcomes, which is an endeavor towards fostering quality higher education in India. And this learning outcome based curriculum framework works towards a more holistic experience for the students while focusing not just on knowledge delivery in higher education, but also on the application of knowledge to field and lab work, and emphasizes on the application of knowledge to real life experiences. So we expect not only that our pedagogy should not just only focus on delivery of maybe the knowledge only through lectures. We want that our pedagogy should also be varied, where that should allow the multiple strategies of teaching, multiple methods of teaching, and multiple experiences for the student, not only in the classroom, no more within the 4 walls of the classroom, but it has to be field-based, it has to be lab-based, and that should also focus on real-life experiences. So all these things need to become a part of our pedagogies when we are talking about a holistic curriculum. So beside this, the students will attain various 21st century skills like critical thinking, problem solving, analytic reasoning, cognitive skills, as well as self-directed learning, etc. So this self-directed learning is very, very essential. Now, as I said, maybe some time back that the teacher was the only source, or what we say, the sole source of maybe the knowledge, or maybe the books or libraries are considered to be the source of knowledge. But now with the availability of maybe the material, the gigantic amount of the knowledge and information, so that we are having every minute, there is a lot of information is available, knowledge is available from multiple sources and direction. The student should learn, and the student should know how to self-direct and what is to be chosen, how is to be chosen, what is the right learning, what is the correct learning, right? How they should invest their time, and what should be the sources, what are the credible sources, and what should be the devices that should be used, and what should be the software that should be used, so that they take responsibility for their self-learning, and these attitudes and these skills also need to be developed in 21st century. That self-directed learning is also considered to be a very, very important skill that we need to develop in higher education students. So when it comes to learning outcome based approach to curriculum planning and development, let me just give you, as we all know it, what exactly it is, like what's its meaning and importance. So this learning outcome based curriculum framework approach is envisioned to provide a focused outcome based syllabus at the undergraduate level with an agenda to structure the teaching learning experiences in a more student centric manner. So this is what the very, very important focus in a learning outcome based curriculum framework, where we need to change the paradigm. There needs to be a paradigm shift from teaching to learning. And there it doesn't mean that there will not be any teaching. Definitely there will be a teaching. There has to be an input, not only from the classroom, maybe teaching various strategies, or maybe not only through teaching using maybe the multiple, the traditional method, but multiple methods of teaching need to be used. Maybe it is online, offline, blended, virtual, everything. And even learning experiences that we provide to the student, they also need to be very, very varied, and we need to put the student as the center of learning. And in order to see that this teaching learning paradigm, there has to be a change in that. Even our curriculum should also be like outcome based, like whatever we are expecting maybe from the students. So the UGC, one of the most prominent autonomous bodies in the country that works towards ensuring the best quality education in India, so that has spoken about the learning outcome based curriculum framework as an initiative to make the teaching learning framework better and enhance the students' learning outcome. The UGC has taken a thoughtful step by introducing this concept of learning outcome based curriculum framework. So it is rightly, like maybe in the light of NEP 2020, the UGC has very rightly thought about learning outcome based curriculum framework as the first initiative to move towards like realizing our vision of NEP 2020. So the idea behind the implementation of LOCF in Indian institutions as well as universities is to predetermine what outcomes need to be achieved by planning, mapping, and measuring the student outcomes. And it is quite similar to the concept of outcome-based education system. So outcome-based education system, it just focuses on what is expected of a student. So in a learning outcome curriculum framework, as I know, like almost all the subjects, whether it is art, science, or management, or for that matter, any professional education, like whenever there is a teaching, every teacher starts teaching with certain objectives in the mind. May not be explicitly written, may not be like explicitly put up anywhere, probably, but still the teacher starts with certain objective. If one certain topic is taken up in a particular chapter or in a subject, they start, this is the objective of teaching. Why is that I am teaching? What is that I am going to teach? But now in a learning outcome based curriculum framework, now the objective will shift to the student outcomes. I have just say, like when I'm teaching this particular content, what behavioral change I expect from the student, what cognitive change I expect from the student, what psychomotor change I expect from the student. So what is the change that I am expecting from the student? So our starting from our objective, that should become that our objective should be once again framed in the behavioral changes, whether it is cognitive, affective, or psychomotor, and it should be outcome based. And maybe when you are having the curriculum, and that should have the flexibility that should allow us to achieve these outcome based objectives. And our teaching learning pedagogy should be such that should facilitate this outcome based achieving of outcome based objectives. So that is very, very important. But when we say that it is similar to the concept of outcome based education system, But the major difference is that, like, unlike in outcome-based education framework, the learning outcome-based curriculum framework is implemented the choice-based credit system. So it is, that means outcome-based education framework can be implemented anywhere. But in the country, right now we are having CBCS, that is choice-based credit system. Credit system is being definitely was implemented again by UGC like during 2015. So almost all the universities in the country, we have gone for this choice-based credit system. So even in Karnataka, we started this choice-based credit system. So the Bangalore University started with the undergraduate as well as the postgraduate choice-based credit system in 2015 itself. So this learning outcome-based curriculum framework is implemented in this choice-based credit system in higher education, that is both in the UG as well as postgraduate programs. So the faculty needs to design a curriculum that would help students learn subjects of their interest while mapping their program at every stage. So definitely we all know choice-based credit system allows a student, like in case if his student is a student of social science or maybe a language or maybe a pure sciences, so he can choose maybe any subjects of his choice, maybe from across the other subjects. Like a science student can choose maybe from social sciences or maybe from languages, or right now in NEP we have spoken even what earlier we consider it as extracurricular or co-curricular subjects like probably yoga, music, performing arts, or maybe like various other such type of subjects. No more there is such type of any watertight compartments, like everything is taken as a curriculum. There is nothing like curricular, co-curricular, or extracurricular. The student should be allowed to choose from other subjects from across the disciplines, various disciplines in a choice-based credit system, so that in a multidisciplinary institutions, so that we develop the holistic. In case if you want to develop the values, if you want the student to understand the Indian heritage, if you want the students to know like whatever our culture, we want the students to develop like moral values, we want the students to develop right attitudes or whatever it is. So it is not just maybe through a disciplinary like a particular subject objectives you can develop that. You allow your students to take up from across the disciplines which imparts the different subjects, and that particular facility will, and that type of facilitation is available with the choice-based credit system. And in this choice-based credit system, the UGC wants to have this learning outcome curriculum framework. So that is what the difference that in education we were talking about outcome-based education and LOCF, that is in CBCS. So that definitely helps a student to learn subjects of their interest while also mapping their progress at every step. And when we are talking about the learning outcome, they can be defined in terms of their knowledge, skills, understanding, and what should be the graduate attributes, values, and employability. When you are designing, whether it is arts, science, languages, or any professional education, in a learning outcome-based curriculum framework, you need to focus like what knowledge, maybe when you are choosing a particular subject. So what knowledge that we want to give to the students by teaching this particular whole subject, or maybe a very like a combination of subjects, we call them as a program. Maybe a program in education program, or maybe in social sciences, maybe different types of post-graduation or undergraduation, or in pure sciences undergraduation as well as post-graduation. So what knowledge we want to develop, what skills we want to develop, and what should be the level of understanding of the student, like once they undergo this particular whole program, or maybe after they undergo a particular subject, and what is the graduate attributes that we are expecting, and what should be the values that we should develop among these undergraduates or maybe later postgraduate, and what employability skills that we would like to develop, so that the gap which is increasing between our graduates and the inadequacy of employability, that can be completely be eradicated. And we need to make sure ourselves like graduate attributes and employability skills should also be kept in mind when we are preparing the learning outcomes, apart from the values that should become, because developing the values, developing the attitudes is become a forgotten objective of education. So because what has happened, whether it is a school education or whether it is a higher education, the teachers, it is unfortunate that we think that maybe completing the syllabus, so delivery of the knowledge, or maybe whatever the syllabus is being mentioned, and that is the job or duty of a teacher. So when we are talking about curriculum, so curriculum is not just restricted to a syllabus. Syllabus is just one component of a curriculum. If you are putting all these things put together, like what earlier we used to call it as curricular, co-curricular, extracurricular, or moral, like knowledge, skill, understanding, attributes, values, attitudes, employability, all these, they become the curriculum. So now when we are talking about the curriculum, so that curriculum should focus on developing all these outcomes. So why learning outcome based curriculum framework? So definitely, as already it is been spoken, the current education system in India is teacher centric, right from the course curriculum to the assessment pattern. So the faculty decides everything to change the students. Therefore, a study just to obtain a decent score in examination rather than thinking of their future and career perspectives. So it is completely, the assessment is only cognitive based. So we expect a good score in the examination. We expect every parent. So that's become a norm of the society. Every parent is highly anxious to see that the child, every parent wants the child to score only 100%, 99, 100%. So we are obsessed with only the scores in examination rather than the holistic personality, rather than developing of values, attitudes, employability skills, and it is become only examination oriented. So in order to improve the students' passion for learning new skills and adopting innovative mindset is very, very important. And it is utmost importance to incorporate the learning outcome based curriculum framework, because it has a tremendous potential to break the traditional teaching learning barriers and make education system student centric. So if at all, if you want to break down the barriers which we used to consider, like everywhere, like sometimes what happens whenever we are talking about the extracurricular, co-curricular activities, whether it is school education and everywhere, so more time is given only to the classes where there are disciplinary theory classes are there, or maybe labs are there, and less of to what earlier used to be called as a co-curricular or extracurricular. But now, if at all, if you want to break these barriers, so the teaching learning barriers, if at all, if you want to make it the student centric, if at all, if you want to have a holistic personality, you need to break the barriers, and you need to have a mindset where there's not only just cognitive, but also affective and psychomotor domains are also taken into cognizance when we are preparing our curriculum framework. And what exactly is the aim of learning outcome based curriculum framework? So the ultimate aim lies in enhancing the quality of higher education in India and encouraging the students to gain the best skills and knowledge during their student journey. And learning outcomes are determined in sync with what students are expected to understand at the end of their study program. So any program, maybe a student is a student of management, or a student of history, student of sociology, student of economics, student of education, student of physics, student of botany, student of zoology. At the end of the program, what is expected and what are the skills and what is the knowledge and what the values that you'll be developing, what type of attitudes that we are expecting from him, and what employability, technical and professional skills that we expect from him. So we should be able to know what are the outcomes, and whether we have achieved those outcomes, we need to understand at the end of the program, and our curriculum should focus on this. So the final expected student learning outcomes are considered as a reference to design the teaching learning curriculum and undergrad and the graduate attributes. Once the final expected outcomes are defined clearly, teachers need to formulate a curriculum that would help them attain their goals. So in order to attain the goals, it is very important. First, we need to, like if at all, when you are having a certain program, Like earlier we used to call it as maybe like any postgraduate program in any subject. Like after studying this particular program, after completing this program, what is expected of that particular student? What we are expecting cognitive changes, what affective changes, what psychomotor skill changes that we are expecting the students, what employability skills that we are expecting from the student. So that need to be designed first. That need to be listed out first. That need to be detailed out. And that need to be once again focused, and that need to be understood very, very clearly. And once that is clearly understood, then the teachers would need to start the curriculum, and then the teachers should see how to transact that curriculum and what should be the pedagogy and what should be the teaching and learning that should have to be decided. And the curriculum that the LOCF curriculum that should the curriculum intends to improve the flexibility of learning as well as the teaching learning innovation, continuous teaching learning improvements, that is through the formative assessment and assessment of students at various levels. Maybe it is weekly, or maybe it is quarterly, or maybe it is monthly. So there has to be a continuous formative assessment, as well as there has to be a periodic review of students' performance. And here we are not only talking about students' performance, only the cognitive. We are talking about the complete portfolios that the students hold, whether it is curricular or what earlier we used to call it co-curricular. The whole curriculum that we are talking about are interdisciplinary or multidisciplinary, where the students have an option to choose, science students having an option to choose from languages, from arts, or maybe from music or whatever it is, or whether maybe a art student can choose maybe some other subjects from the other disciplines. So that periodic review of all the performance of the students need to be kept in mind. And apart from that, there has to be a learning cycle of the learning outcome based curriculum framework. So there has to be a planning phase, the execution phase, and there has to be an attainment phase. And I have given here only the planning, execution, and attainment. When I come to the second part of my presentation, I will take over from this planning phase, execution phase, and attainment phase. Then I'll go to my template. Then I'll share with you maybe the model curriculum, and so that will give you an idea like how you can go about with this LOCF. So the fundamental, So the fundamental premise underlying the learning outcome-based approach to curriculum planning and development is that higher education qualifications such as bachelor's degree program are awarded on the basis of demonstrated achievement of outcomes expressed in terms of knowledge, understanding, skills, attitudes, and values, and academic standards expected of graduate of a program of a study. So when we are awarding a degree in higher education, a bachelor's degree, for an undergraduate course or for a UG program, we are going to see whether the student's achievement should be demonstrated not in just cognitive, not in terms of knowledge, only our understanding, but also the skills, the attitudes, values, as well as the standard which is expected of a graduate of a particular program of a study. And learning outcomes specify what graduates completing a particular program of a study are expected to know, understand, and be able to do at the end of their program of study. And the expected learning outcomes are also used as reference points that would help formulate graduate attributes, qualification descriptors, program learning outcomes, and course learning outcomes, which in turn will help in curriculum planning and development and in the design, delivery, and review of academic programs. So this template that I'm going, like whatever the attributes and program learning outcomes and core learning outcomes, I have a template which I'm going to share with you in the part 2 presentation. So these are going to provide general guidance for articulating the essential learning associated with the programs of study and courses within a program. Like as we say, a program that is teacher education program. So under teacher education program, we are having so many disciplinary courses, optional courses, as well as maybe the open electives. So that way, almost all undergraduate courses as well as postgraduate courses, whether it is science or arts, all these are now called as earlier they used to call it as the courses. Now we call them as program. Under that program, each subject of study is called as a course. It may be noted that the learning outcome-based curriculum framework is not intended to promote designing of a national common syllabus for a program of study or learning contents of courses within each program of study, or to prescribe a set of approaches to teaching learning process and assessment of student learning levels. And many a times it is mistaken, because the UGC has given for many subjects these learning outcome-based curriculum framework. It is only suggestive. It is only a model curriculum. Every university can have like different models of their own curriculum, and that models of curriculum, and then we can have the diversity in these models of curriculum, but keeping the framework as common. Maybe keeping the framework can definitely, the model curriculum, keeping the framework can definitely help them in designing those programs which becomes learning outcome based curriculum frameworks. It is not that we are going to have a common syllabus for the whole country, or maybe a common syllabus for the whole state, or not that they are set of approaches for teaching and learning. So there can be a diversity in teaching and learning in order to achieve the objectives that is the outcome based objectives that we have prescribed. And there can be a flexibility in the curriculum also, apart from like whatever the model curriculums that the UGC has given. So learning outcome based curriculum framework on undergraduate education are intended to allow the flexibility and innovation in program design and syllabi development by higher education institutions, teaching learning process, assessment of student learning levels, periodic program review within a broad framework of agreed expected graduate attributes, qualification descriptors, program learning outcomes, as well as learning outcomes. So the overall objective of learning outcome based curriculum framework are to help formulate, as I have given, graduate attributes, qualification descriptors, program learning outcomes, as well as course learning outcomes that are expected to be demonstrated by a holder of a qualification. And also enable prospective students and parents and employers, like what we call them as stakeholders, to understand the nature and level of learning outcome in all these aspects, whether it is knowledge, skill, attitudes, or values that we are trying to develop as attributes of a graduate, and maintain national standards and international comparability of learning outcomes and academic standards to ensure global competitiveness and to facilitate students and graduate mobility. If at all, if you want the students' mobility nationally and internationally, so that we have to see that international and global competitiveness need to be ensured, and that academic excellence and academic standard need to be maintained, and we should do it like when we are expecting it in terms of the learning outcomes, whether it is knowledge, skill, attributes, or values. So provide higher education institution an important point of reference for designing teaching learning strategies, as well as assessing the student level and periodic review of performance, as well as the other standards in academics. So what are the key outcomes underpinning curriculum planning and development? So the learning outcome-based curriculum framework for undergraduate education is a framework based on the expected learning outcomes and academic standards that are expected to be attained by a graduate of a program of study and holder of a qualification. So the key outcomes that underpin curriculum planning and development at the undergraduate level, they can include maybe the graduate attributes, qualification descriptors, program learning outcome, as well as learning course learning outcomes. So what do you mean by these graduate attributes? So the graduate attributes reflects the particular quality and a feature or a characteristic of an individual, including the knowledge, skill, attitude, and values that are expected to be acquired by a graduate through studies at the higher education institution, such as a college or a university. The graduate attributes include capabilities that can help strengthen one's abilities for widening current knowledge base and skills, gaining new knowledge and skills, undertaking future studies, performing well in a chosen career, playing a constructive role as a responsible citizen in the society, etc. So the graduate attributes define the characteristics of a student's university degree programs and describes a set of characteristics or competencies that are transferable beyond study of a particular subject and program context in this they have been developed. So whenever we are talking about any program, so every program should have all these attributes. Attributes means knowledge, skill, attitude, values, employability skills, everything should be there. And these attributes should be transferable beyond study. Beyond study means like once they study, it is not that he learn and forget. That need to be transferable. There has to be a applicability that should be transferred for their real life. That should be transferred in their work. That should be transferred for being a good citizen of a country and to be service of a country. So that type of attributes we are talking about to be developed among the graduates. So graduate attributes are fostered through meaningful learning experiences, which are made available through the curriculum by the university as well as the college experiences, and in the process of critical as well as reflective thinkers. We want our students to develop critical thinking and reflective thinking. It is not just we need to teach them what and where and when, but we need to teach them how and why. That is very, very important for a critical thinking and a reflective thinking. We want our graduates to be creative thinkers, reflective thinkers, and problem solvers, apart from being useful to the society and responsible citizens in the society. And learning outcome-based curriculum framework for undergraduate to education. The learning outcome-based curriculum framework is based on the premise that every student and graduate is unique. So we all know it, that the psychology says that even the identical twins are not the same in all respects or in all aspects. So every student and every graduate is unique. Each student or graduate has his own or her own characteristics in terms of previous learning experiences or maybe life experiences, learning styles and approaches to future career related activities. Like how teachers have their own teaching styles, and every student also have a learning style. Some students like to learn by hearing, some likes to learn by visualizing, some like to learn by doing themselves. So that is whether it is a constructivist approach. So different types of students are having different learning style. So we need to cater to all types of students coming from different varied backgrounds and varied learning styles. So the quality, depth and breadth of learning experiences made available to the student while at the higher education institutions help develop their characteristics, attributes. You need to check for what is the input that the student is bringing to education, and how do you foster in case you want to develop that, and you need to see that you develop these experiences cumulatively and see that every student is unique, every student has a potentiality, and our curriculum and our education should facilitate in building that potential to the highest or to the optimum. So that should be the facilitating environment or facilitating experience that every student should get it, maybe even in higher education institutions also. The graduate attributes reflect both disciplinary knowledge as well as understanding, as well as the generic skills, including global competitiveness by all the students in different academic fields of study. They should acquire and attain, as well as they should demonstrate. In a learning outcome-based curriculum framework, we are focusing on a student acquiring the knowledge or attaining the knowledge, as well as demonstration of knowledge. Acquiring of a skill, demonstration of a skill. Acquiring of a value, demonstration of a value. Acquiring a attitude or demonstration of attitude. So this is very, very essential when we are talking about learning outcome-based curriculum framework. So some of the characteristic attributes that a graduate should demonstrate are as, for example, if it is a disciplinary knowledge, he should be capable of demonstrating comprehensive knowledge and understanding of one or more disciplines that form a part of an undergraduate program of study. So like whatever the program he has chosen. So within that program, there may be so many courses or disciplines, and he should be able to demonstrate and show what is the level of knowledge and understanding he has developed. And the communication skills, ability, he should be able to develop the ability to express through maybe his ideas, thoughts effectively, maybe in writing, orally, communicating with using other appropriate media confidently, sharing one's views and express himself or herself, demonstrate the ability to listen carefully, write analytically, present complex information in a clear and concise manner to different groups, and that we expect as a skill. That is, they need to, this is what we want to teach, so that they demonstrate it through their skill of reading, writing, sharing, collaborating, and networking, and develop critical thinking, where they should be capable of applying the analytical thoughts of a body of knowledge, analyze and evaluate that evidence, arguments, beliefs on an empirical basis, and they should have formulate the coherent arguments, critically evaluate. So we are talking about, they are all outcome based. That when we are talking about arguing, evaluating, practices, approving, involved in doing it, right? They are all, we are talking about psychomotor, and that the psychomotor ability to apply and all that, that requires a lot of a critical thinking or creative thinking, and ability to solve the problem, where we want to develop the capacity to extrapolate from what one has learned and to apply these competencies to solve different kinds of non-similar problems also. So it is not that the higher education institutions can provide the students with any band-aid solutions, and that band-aid solutions may not work in almost all the situations. They should be they should be equipped with ability to solve problem, ability to be very critical, ability to think morally and take decisions. So only when that capability, competencies are developed, whatever is the situation and whatever he has learned, like he has, in case if he has developed those skills of problem solving, critical thinking and all that, he will be able to solve any problem in any situation, he will be able to handle. And this is what we are expecting, these type of attributes in our graduates through LOCF. And there are other attributes that we want. We want the students to develop the analytical reasoning, where the ability to evaluate the reliability and relevance of evidence. If somebody says, okay, this is correct, one should know how far it is reliable or reliable. Like, for example, many of our students and all of us, we use a lot of whatever the digital materials, or maybe the materials available on www, that World Wide Web, social media, sometimes indiscriminately, without checking for its credibility, without evaluating the reliability and relevance of the evidences. So we need to develop in our students the analytical reason. They should be able to know what is a credible source, whether there is a reliability, whether the whatever the material or whatever the argument is there, evidence is there, whether it is relevant. We should be able to identify what are the flaws and whether the arguments are comparable, or whether it is concurrent with the other maybe the contemporary things which are going on. And that type of analytical reasoning we need to develop. And apart from that, research related skills. So it is not that the student should be able to accept like what is being handed down but through traditions, what is being handed down by maybe the ancestors, or what is being given as a solution by somebody. They should develop their sense of inquiry. And in case if this is the finding, whether it is how far it is correct, let me have take that finding as a hypothesis. Let me check it myself, whether that particular hypothesis, and take a probably a finding of some research as a hypothesis, and once again go and check whether the hypothesis is true or not, and then come to a conclusion. So that type of research related skills need to be developed. And apart from that, it is very, very effective. It is very, very essential to be a human being, not just developing the technical skills, professional skills, or maybe these analytical or research related skills, maybe making them developing the human skills, values, and attitudes is very, very essential for making him a human being. So for that, what is essential? Maybe the social skills, the cooperation, the teamwork, ability to work effectively, respectfully with diverse teams, facilitate cooperation with a coordinated effort on the part of the group, and act together very responsibly, and having empathy, having sympathy, and ability to communicate, and ability to persuade, and ability to solve a problem, and ability to help, ability to tolerate, and the ability to adjust in the new environment, and adaptability. So all these type of skills are very much essential in our undergraduates, or maybe the graduates or postgraduates, and these all need to be. And if you want to develop these skills, there has to be a curriculum. There has to be a curriculum where there is a part where the teacher should be able to transact that through varied teaching and learning pedagogy, so that they develop these type of skills. And these skills cannot be developed without having a proper curriculum. So we need to have a curriculum keeping these outcomes. And apart from that, we also want the students to develop scientific reasoning, not that developing maybe having a superstitious ideas and all that. One should develop that how to draw conclusions, both from the quantitative as well as from the qualitative data, how one should critically evaluate and find out the evidences, both from the experiences, both that is open-mindedly, and one should have a very, very reasonable thinking, that is a scientific thinking. Apart from that, reflective thinking, why it might have happened, how it might have happened, and one should have that reflective thinking. One should become self-aware. One should become, like, if you are doing, aware about oneself, aware about others' abilities, others' capabilities, others' emotions, one's own emotions, and whatever you are doing, you need to reflect back, to check back, and how far, what was being done, whether it is right, whether I can do much more better. If at all I had to do much more better, how would I go about? So the how and why, and looking back our own experiences, and this reflective thinking and sensibility is very, very essential, apart from the informational and digital literacy. And this informational and digital literacy is become a very, very essential skills to be developed in any student, whether it is a school student, whether it is a graduate, undergraduate, or a postgraduate. This informational literacy or digital literacy, because in every walks of life, right, we are having that these digital devices are being used, and information is sought through these various digital devices. And we should see that the students will be able to use these hardwares or maybe the digital devices, and appropriately use the desirable softwares. And maybe the student should be counseled. The student should be, there has to be appropriate counseling. There has to be appropriate guidance to the student, like what they should learn, how they should learn, what appropriate materials should be selected, and in what learning situation, and they should demonstrate the ability to access, evaluate, and use variety of relevant information sources and relevant appropriate softwares for analysis of data. So we are talking about, maybe here when we are talking about informational and digital literacy, I say that the role of parents, maybe the teachers, and the role of all these in guiding the youths, maybe in counseling the youths, maybe in selecting the and accessing and evaluating use of relevant information from the appropriate sources and software is very, very essential. But we need to, because whatever we are talking about 21st century, and these technological tools are there, and they are going to be there much more, and we cannot neglect it, and we should develop this digital literacy. And for that, we need to take care of guiding and helping and counseling the students. Apart from that, the self-directed learning. So where we need to develop the ability among the student, where they can become independent, work independently, identify appropriate resources required for a project, for an assignment, or for a seminar, or preparing a material, preparing for an examination, maybe preparing for, maybe developing an appropriate teamwork. So for that, they should learn this self-directed learning, multicultural competence. See, in the 21st century, especially in a country like India, where there is a lot of diversity, whether it with respect to the populations, maybe the religion, ethnicity, caste, creed, culture, maybe region, languages, maybe type of this one. And apart from that, there are international, from the international perspective, also the student should be developed this multicultural competence, not only to handle within one's own society, one's own community in a country, but also in an international perspective, and where nowadays we consider the whole world to be a global village, and they should be able to interact respectfully with the diverse group. We want our undergraduates to have all these competencies. Apart from that, moral and ethical awareness and reasoning. I said that some of the attributes and characteristics which, when we were having our ancient Indian education system, when we talk about the Gurukula system, the student used to be with the groups. Not only they were learning the knowledge and the skill, but there was a lot of emphasis on moral and ethical awareness, reasoning, and development. And now with the mass education, or maybe with the commercialization of education, or maybe with our only anxiety to develop maybe the appropriate only the technical skills, or maybe professional skills, or maybe the cognitive skills, we have forgotten the moral and ethical awareness, which is highly required as important attributes of our graduates. We need to go back to our culture, to our heritage, and the type of teaching and learning that we had. And we need to learn from our predecessors. We need to learn from our experiences. We need to learn from our ancient literatures, that moral and ethical awareness and reasoning need to become the important attributes of our graduates. And that should also find a place in our curriculum. And there has to be a moral stories, autobiographies, there has to be such type of case studies, there has to be such type of part of curriculum, so that we concentrate on these type of attributes of the graduates. Apart from that, we need to develop the capability of the students to lead and to develop these leadership qualities and lifelong learning and ability to acquire knowledge and skill once he graduates. And that doesn't end that should not end their ability to learn. One should develop that ability to acquire the knowledge as well as the skills for lifelong. So lifelong learning should also become through the self-directed learning. One should develop one's competence, so that help in meeting their economic, social, and cultural objectives, as well as adapting to the changing traits and demands of the workplace as well as the society. And that is possible only when an individual always keeps himself updated, updates his knowledge and skills. And that is possible when we make an individual to learn this lifelong learning ability. So when we are talking about qualification descriptors, a qualification descriptors indicate the generic outcome and attributes expected for the award of a particular type of qualification, whether it is a bachelor's degree or a bachelor's degree with the honors. Bachelor's degree, as we had traditionally a 3 years degree, and a bachelor's degree with honors, a 4 years of degree. And we all know that these 4 years of honors degree, that the NEP 2020 has made it very, very flexible, that there are multiple exit and the entry points. So with a 1 year degree, the student's effort does not go waste. He will get a certificate. With a 2 year degree, in case some student wants to take a exit, he'll definitely get a diploma. In case if a student completes a 3 year, he'll get a degree. If a student completes a 4 year in a major subject, he will get a honors. So this type of flexibility is provided when it comes to the structure. And we need to design our curriculum also, where a student at 1 year, if he just exit, there has to be some knowledge, skills, and some sort of attributes that he goes out with, that can make him that should equip him to be employable. Even with a 2 year diploma, we should see that our curriculum is such that where he should have a decent employability with all knowledge, skills, apart from the values and honors. That's the same thing. So with a very specific qualification, that what is the level of knowledge and what should be the level of understanding, what should be the skills and competencies and values and the attitudes that each one is expected. If it is only 1 year certification, what should be the level of the knowledge and skill and competencies one should have? If it is a 2 year degree, what should be the cumulative level of developing the knowledge, understanding, and 3-4 year post-graduation? So that way, so we have to have the qualification descriptors along with maybe the whatever the outcomes are expected attributes that we are talking about for the graduates. Qualification descriptors for a bachelor's degree, that for example, the students who complete 3 years of full-time study of an undergraduate program of a study will be awarded a bachelor's degree. Some of the expected learning outcomes that a student should be able to demonstrate on completion of a degree level program may include the following. It is general, maybe a degree level program, a fundamental, systematic or coherent understanding of an academic field of study, its different learning areas and application, its linkage with related disciplinary areas and subjects, procedural knowledge that creates different types of professional related disciplinary subject area, and also skills in areas related to one specialization and current developments in academic field of study. For example, bachelor's degree in economics. So he should be able to understand maybe like whatever the current, apart from the basic fundamental knowledge, apart from that, what are the new updated areas of knowledge. And he should also be able to develop some of the, not only the understanding, how he should be able to apply it maybe in his real life, maybe apply in his workplace, maybe apply maybe to having a linkage maybe to the other disciplines. So that way, and maybe a procedural knowledge, a technical knowledge for every subject. So that way, these are the qualification descriptors that every bachelor's degree should be having. Use knowledge, understanding, skill required for identifying problem, communicate the results, meet one's own learning needs, demonstrate subject related knowledge. So when it comes to program learning outcomes, the outcome and attributes described in qualification descriptors are attained by students to learning required on completion of a program of a study. So in the descriptors, like whatever the attributes have been given and for a particular qualification, and those attributes for that particular program of study need to be once again prescribed or need to be specified for every program. It needs to be specified for every program. The term program refers to the entire scheme of study followed by learners leading to a qualification. So leading to a qualification, that is called as the complete program. So individual programs of study will have defined learning outcomes which must be attained for the award of a specific certificate, diploma or degree. The program learning outcomes are aligned with the relevant qualification descriptors. That means whatever the attributes we spoke, and for each qualification, whether it is a diploma, certificate or a degree or a honors, what should be the level of knowledge, understanding or skill or values or attitudes for everything. Like for everything, we should set what is the overall program learning outcome. And in the same manner, for each program, we should have a learning outcome that keeping in mind the qualification descriptors. And when it comes to learning outcome, further, we also need to see that subject specific skills, generic skills, including transferable global skills and competencies and achievement of which the students of a specific program should be able to demonstrate for the award of a qualification. So this is what I'm just talking. Your program learning outcomes should be in confirmation with the qualification descriptors, and qualification descriptors should keep it in mind the graduate attributes. They all go together. They are all hand in hand. From the graduate attributes to the qualification descriptors, from the qualification descriptors, program learning outcomes, and then from the program learning outcome, then we will move out to the course learning outcomes. And these course learning outcomes are attained. They are very specific. Now in a program, there may be multiple number of courses or maybe n number of courses may be there. So this term course is used to mean an individual course of study. So for example, when we say like BA in a maybe probably when we say a graduate, arts graduate. When we say an arts graduate, so probably he must be studying different courses like economics, political science, sociology. A science graduate. A science graduate may be studying maybe chemistry, physics or mathematics or botany or whatever it is. So that chemistry will become a course. the botany will become a course, right? That physics will become a course, or economics will become a course for an arts graduate. For a science graduate, maybe the science program, maybe the whole program is a graduate with a science degree. And for each course, you need to have once again, the learning outcomes. So for each course, when you are having a learning outcome, all that put together, you should be able to have the general, what we call it as program outputs, so that you are going to achieve the qualification descriptors and the graduate attributes. So since it is taking a lot of time, I am just going to skip some of the things which I have simply detailed it out. And the teaching learning process is one of the very, very important thing, which should also be learning outcome based approach need to be used for curriculum planning. And this outcome based approach may be in the context of undergraduate studies. That should also be learner centric pedagogies. Not only that our curriculum should be learning outcome based, and also from the teacher centered to the learner centric pedagogies, we need to shift, if at all, if you want to achieve all these graduate attributes. And teaching methods guided by such a framework may include lectures, practicum and field-based learning, use of prescribed textbooks and e-learning and self-study materials, open-ended projects, and there can also be team-based activities in order to develop these generic and transferable and other skills, internship, visits to field sites, industrial and other research facilities. So these can be some of the methods, and there can also be varied methods of assessment in order to assess the students, like whatever the attributes are there. And we need to give a lot of clarity to the formative assessment. So it is not just we can go wait till the end of the program. If there are any, like if at all, if requires any change in the pedagogy, if it requires any change of curriculum, it needs to be a formative assessment, and it has to be a regular, continuous assessment. So assessment mode has to be more of formative rather than summative. Summative can be there at the end, but every step there should be a formative assessment. So they can be in times of maybe through time constrained examination, closed book, open book test, problem based assignments, practical assignments, laboratory reports, observation of practical skills, case study reports, individual projects. So vivas, maybe computerized adapted testing, peer and self-assessment, any other pedagogical process, like as per the context, can be used by the institutions or maybe by a particular program. Program learning outcomes, maybe you can check out with the UGC's the learning outcome curriculum framework, which is given by the UGC. And these examples are also drawn from these curriculum framework, which is being given by the UGC. And they have given to multiple number of subjects the learning outcome curriculum framework, that you can find it on their website. And maybe a bachelor's degree education, one example, and one science I had taken up. But since due to paucity of time, I may not be able to go in detail. For example, for the award of a qualification, a bachelor's degree in education, it can include what core values one should develop, or what core values one should have to become a teacher. So if it is a bachelor's degree in education, so usually we are preparing a teacher, maybe for a school level. He should develop commitment to the profession or job requirements, honoring the diversity and ensuring inclusion by treating all students and colleagues with respect and dignity. There has to be ethical integrity, like when it comes to becoming a teacher. And communication skills are basic core competencies. When you are a teacher, the ability to maybe present orally, written and explanation information, maybe a well-structured explanation, logical, in a very, very logical manner. Communication skills are very, very important core competency for any to become a teacher. Working effectively with students, parents, and with the colleagues. Drive for achieving improved standard learning outcomes. Demonstrate professional and technical knowledge. When it comes to demonstrating professional and technical knowledge, what prospective teachers are expected to know? That is physical, social, and intellectual development, characteristics of student, and how that affects learning. See, these are all the things that any would-be teacher or any pre-service pre-service teacher training should know before becoming a teacher, before he acquires a bachelor's degree in education. Same thing with regard to a bachelor's degree in arts, bachelor's degree in science. So this is an example you can check out for science and arts very elaborately that the UGC has given in the learning outcome curriculum framework, that document that can be checked out by anybody. So these examples have been taken from that particular document of the UGC, demonstrate knowledge and understanding of the various strategies that are required for a Bachelor of Education student. Demonstrate knowledge required to design learning sequences and lesson plan. If a teacher, like if at all, if they are presenting a lesson, how should he design his lesson? And what should be the materials that he should be using? How should he implement teaching learning strategies? How should he use maybe the ICT information communication technologies to improve the teaching learning process? So demonstrate professional qualities. So like what prospective teachers should be able to do and what important skills, that professional skills they should be possessing in order to become a teacher. So these professional qualities which are very, very essential for a teacher. Apart from that, demonstrate competencies which are action oriented. So here they should be able to contribute to collegial discussions, apply constructive feedback from colleagues, improve their professional knowledge, able to engage, participate in learning, updating knowledge, and keeping oneself professionally engaged, maybe through seminars, cooperations, maybe workshops, doing it, maybe helping the parents, helping the students, helping the guardians, maybe the colleagues. So all these things which helps in improving the knowledge is very, very essential. Coming to an end, this is actually not the end of it, that the the learning outcome based curriculum framework is very, very comprehensive and wide, that it was not possible to put it up in a 1.5 or a 2-hour session, but still I have tried to probably just shrink the whole thing maybe in a small nutshell. Coming to a conclusion, I can just say that the role of universities and colleges in the 21st century extends far beyond traditional knowledge creation and dissemination to encompass the new expectations for innovation that will have broader social and economic benefits. It's not just merely that earlier we used to believe the universities to be like whatever, the traditionally it was believed that it is for creation and dissemination of knowledge. It is no more merely for only creation, dissemination of knowledge, but they should become institutions of innovation, so that will have a broader implications for the social as well as economic benefits of an individual as a society and globally, and to cater to the needs of students with diverse talents, aspirations, and professional requirements. And it is necessary to make qualitative changes in undergraduate, postgraduate programs. It's just not providing access. It is not just only with regard to the quantity, not with regard to the number of enrollment, but we need to bring qualitative changes in terms of knowledge, skills, values, as well as employability skills. So in this backdrop, the National Education Policy has recommended a multidisciplinary undergraduate program with multiple entry and exit options with certificate, diploma, degree at each of the exits. A nationwide ecosystem of vibrant, multidisciplinary graded higher educational institutions are to be developed. So in this, we need to have a very, very liberal approach on the basis of this type of undergraduate multidisciplinary program which is being given to us. The undergraduate curriculum needs to be once again focused on creativity and innovation, critical thinking, higher order thinking capacities, problem solving abilities, teamwork, communication skills, more in-depth learning and mastery of curricula across the fields, and hence all the universities and higher education institutions should think to fit to implement the multidisciplinary and holistic education in all the undergraduate programs and consequential postgraduate programs with multiple entry and exit options, with multiple certificate, diploma, or degrees in the faculties of arts, science, commerce, and management, etc., to replace the present undergraduate degree programs. So thank you, all of you, for giving a very, very patient hearing for such a long time. Or any questions with regard to this conceptual framework, you are welcome to do so. And I am having a second part of presentation that is on how to develop this LOCF and a template and a model curriculum just to share with you, apart from the structure of curriculum that is prepared by Higher Education Council of Government of Karnataka. Thank you so much for giving this opportunity. Thank you.
so much, ma'am. Thank you so much. We have enriched and enhanced our knowledge regarding LOCF.
I'm not able to hear.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for enhancing and enrich our knowledge regarding LOCF. Actually, the question answers round should be at the end of the session.
Okay. After
Yeah,
we complete the second
Yes,
session.
yes, ma'am. Yes. Ma'am.
Okay. Now, what is the break time?
Yes, it's now break time after 2 minutes.
After?
2 minutes.
Okay. Okay.
Excuse me, madam. There
Yes,
is a
please tell me.
tea break for 10 to 50 minutes, and we will be back by 4:20.
4:20. Okay. Okay. Thank you. No problem. No issue. Thank you so much.
So much.